broken girl for sale, the market was filled with noise. Voices shouted prices, machines hissed, and bright lights flashed in the dusty air. Under a tall metal roof, rows of cages lined both sides of the street. Inside them sat broken things, machines, droids, and creatures that once had purpose. At the very end of the market, in the coldest corner, sat a small cage. Inside it was a girl. Her skin was pale silver, her hair long and dull like moonlight covered in dust. One of her legs was missing, replaced by rough metal wires. A faded sign hung on her cage. It read, "For sale, damaged goods, unfit for service." Her name was Lyra. Once she had been a messenger, an alien designed to travel between worlds, bringing peace talks and songs of unity. But that was before the war, before the bomb, before she lost her leg and her people turned away from her. Now she was nothing more than an item on a dirty market shelf. Traders walked past, some with disgust, some with laughter. "Who would buy a broken thing?" one said. "She doesn't even look alive," another whispered. Lyra heard them all, but she didn't look up. She kept her eyes on the ground, hands wrapped around her knees. Days turned into nights. Nights turned into more days. Time meant nothing here. Sometimes when the market was quiet, Lyra would close her eyes and remember the sound of rain on her home planet. Soft, gentle rain that smelled like clean air and silver trees. She missed that smell. She missed being someone. She wished she could disappear. But one afternoon, everything changed. A sound echoed through the market. A ship landing. Heavy engines roared, shaking the metal floor. Trader stopped talking and looked up. A strange ship, black and marked with old human symbols, settled outside the gates. Whispers filled the crowd. A human? What's a human doing here? They never come this far. Lyra lifted her head just a little. Through the bars of her cage, she saw him. He was tall, wrapped in a dark coat. His face was tired but calm. His eyes, sharp and human brown, scanned the market like he was searching for something. He walked slowly, ignoring the traders who tried to call him over. The human's name was Captain Aaron. No one knew why he was there. Some said he was a collector of alien tech. Others whispered he was a soldier running from war. But Aaron didn't seem like a man looking for machines or power. His eyes carried something different, something quiet. As he walked past the rows of cages, every trader tried to impress him. "Captain, look here, best android parts, fresh bioslaves. Good for work." But he didn't stop. He kept walking until he reached the end of the market. Until he saw her. Lyra froze under his gaze. Humans had always frightened her. Stories told by her people said humans were cold and violent, destroyers of planets. She didn't want him to notice her. She wanted to be invisible, but Aaron did stop. He looked at her for a long moment. Not like a buyer, not like a trader, just looked. The alien merchant beside her cage gave a nervous laugh. "Not that one, sir. That one's trash. No use to anyone." Aaron didn't answer. He crouched down to Lyra's level. "Can you hear me?" he asked softly. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. Her voice was small, like the whisper of wind. "Yes." He studied her broken leg, then looked back at the merchant. "How much?" The merchant blinked. "For her? Sir, she's damaged. She can't work. I'll give you a better deal for—" I asked how much. Aaron's voice turned sharp. The merchant, now nervous, named a price. Aaron pulled out a small silver chip and dropped it into his hand. Done. Before Lyra could understand what was happening, the cage door opened for the first time in months. "Go," said the merchant. "She's yours now, human." Lyra didn't move. Her heart pounded. "Why?" she asked, staring at him. "Why would you buy me?" Aaron stood straight. "Because you looked like you needed someone." No one had ever said words like that to her before. He helped her stand, careful not to hurt her wires. She leaned on him, weak from hunger. The market stared in silence as he led her away, past cages, past lights, past all the laughter that had haunted her for years. As they reached his ship, Lyra turned to look back one last time. The market seemed smaller now. The voices seemed quieter. For the first time, she felt something she hadn't felt since before the war: hope. Aaron helped her up the ramp. Inside, the air was clean and warm. The doors closed, cutting off the noise of the market. Lyra sat down on a soft seat, her hands shaking. She looked at Aaron, unsure if this was real. "You don't even know me," she whispered. Aaron smiled just a little. Sometimes you don't need to know someone to care. Outside, the engine started. The ship rose into the air, leaving behind the place that had buried her. Lyra looked out the window as the market turned into a tiny dot below. Tears rolled down her face, but they weren't from sadness anymore. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't for sale. The human's offer, the sound of the engines faded and silence filled the small ship. Lyra sat quietly in the corner, holding her arms close to her chest. The human's ship was unlike anything she had seen. Clean, warm, and filled with soft light. It felt safe, and that was the strangest feeling of all. Captain Aaron moved across the cabin, pressing buttons and checking controls. His steps were calm, confident. The hum of the ship wrapped around them like a heartbeat. Lyra's eyes followed him carefully. Every human story she had heard as a child came back to her mind. Humans were destroyers. Humans were cruel. Humans took what they wanted and left nothing behind. So why did this one buy her just to give her freedom? She didn't understand. Aaron turned toward her and spoke softly. You should rest. There's food in the storage unit if you can eat human food. Lyra blinked. Why are you helping me? He stopped. For a moment he didn't answer. Then with a slow sigh he sat across from her. I saw someone who didn't deserve to be left behind, he said. That's reason enough. His voice was low, steady, and full of quiet strength. Lyra wanted to believe him, but years of pain had built walls around her heart. She shook her head. No one helps without a reason, she said. No one ever does, Aaron gave a small smile. Then maybe I'm no one. For a second she almost laughed. Almost. He stood again and opened a small compartment. Inside was a metal box filled with tools and small blinking devices. He pulled out a prosthetic leg, silver, flexible, smooth like living metal. Lyra gasped. This is for you, he said. She stared at it in disbelief. For me? Aaron nodded. It's not perfect, but it'll let you walk again. Lyra shook her head. Why waste it on me? I'm not important. Aaron crouched beside her, holding the prosthetic gently. You're alive. That's important enough. She didn't know what to say. Her throat felt tight. He carefully attached the prosthetic, connecting wires and sensors to her damaged skin. She winced but didn't pull away. Within minutes, the new leg glowed faintly and moved as if it were part of her. Aaron stepped back. Try standing. Lyra hesitated. Slowly, she pushed herself up. The metal limb moved with her, smooth and balanced. For the first time in years, she was standing tall. Her silver eyes filled with tears. I can walk, she whispered. Aaron smiled. Told you. Lyra turned to him, her voice shaking. No one ever gave me anything before. Then it's time someone did, he replied. For a while they stayed in silence. The ship floated through empty space, stars glimmering beyond the window like frozen fireflies. Lyra's mind was full of questions she couldn't ask. Who was this man? Why did he risk coming to that cruel market? Why her? Finally, she asked the one question that mattered. Where are we going? Aaron looked at the stars. Somewhere safe, Lyra frowned. Safe doesn't exist anymore. He looked back at her, eyes full of something she hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. Maybe it does. You just have to believe it again. She wanted to believe, but belief was dangerous. Hope could break you worse than fear. Still, when she looked at him, she felt a small spark of something she hadn't felt in years. Trust. Later that night, as she lay on the soft bed in the small cabin he gave her, Lyra couldn't sleep. Her thoughts spun like stars outside the window. Why did this human see her differently? What did he see that no one else did? She looked at her new leg, silver and strong. For the first time, she wasn't afraid of her reflection. Just before she drifted off to sleep, she heard faint footsteps. Aaron was talking to someone through a small communicator. His voice was quiet, but Lyra's hearing was sharp. Target recovered, he said. But she doesn't know who she is yet. I'll keep her safe until we reach base. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. Target, what did that mean? Her fingers trembled. She wanted to believe he was different. But maybe this was all a lie. Maybe she was just another mission, another experiment. But then she remembered his eyes, the way he looked at her. Not with coldness, but with care. She didn't know what to believe anymore. Outside, space stretched endless and silent. The ship moved through the darkness like a small heartbeat in a giant chest. Lyra closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "Please, let him be real." The next morning, Aaron brought her a cup of warm liquid that smelled like honey. She took it carefully, still watching him. "We'll be at the next station soon," he said. "You'll get proper treatment there." Lyra nodded, pretending to smile. But inside she was scared. Something about this human was real and kind, but something else was hidden behind his calm face. And soon, she would find out what it was. Aboard the human ship, the ship drifted through the endless dark, its silver hull glowing softly under the light of faraway stars. Inside, the air was calm and quiet, too quiet for someone like Lyra, who had spent years surrounded by noise, pain, and chains. She woke slowly, blinking against the soft light from the ceiling. For a moment she forgot where she was, then she felt it, her new leg smooth and alive beneath her. It wasn't the same as before, but it was hers now. She sat up and looked around. The small room was clean, lined with screens that blinked softly. A folded blanket rested near her bed, and next to it sat a tray with food. Real food. Not the cold rations she used to steal in the market. Everything here felt unreal. She had been called broken, useless, thing. Now she had been given warmth, safety, and a name again. Still, she didn't trust it. Lyra touched her leg carefully. The metal was warm, almost like skin. "Why?" she whispered to herself. "Why would a human do this for me?" Before she could think more, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Captain Aaron stepped in holding a data pad. He looked tired, but his eyes softened when he saw her awake. "You're healing faster than I expected," he said. Lyra didn't answer right away. She studied his face, clean-shaven, strong lines, but the kind of eyes that had seen too much war. "You talk like you knew I would heal," she said slowly. "Like you knew me before." Aaron gave a short laugh. "No, I just know fighters when I see them." "I'm not a fighter," she said quietly. He glanced at her prosthetic. "You survived that place. That's enough." There was something about his voice, calm, steady, almost kind, that made her chest tighten. Aaron handed her a small packet. "This will help with the pain. You'll get used to the new leg in a few days." Lyra took it carefully. "Thank you," she murmured, but her mind was full of noise. Last night she had heard him talking, saying she was a target. The word burned in her mind like a secret flame. She looked at him again, her voice cautious. "You said you help people, but why were you really on that planet?" Aaron paused. For a moment his face changed, not angry, not cold, but distant. "I was looking for something that was lost," he said simply. "Something. Or someone?" she asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he turned toward the window. "You've never seen open space, have you?" Lyra shook her head. "Only through metal bars." "Then look," he said, and tapped a button on the wall. The room dimmed and the window brightened, showing the vast sea of stars outside. Millions of lights shimmered, stretching into forever. Some were close, some were tiny dust specks in the black. Lyra's breath caught in her throat. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. "It's alive," she whispered. Aaron nodded slowly. "The universe always is, even when we forget." For the first time, Lyra saw something in his eyes. Not pity, but understanding. She wanted to ask about his past, but the words stuck in her throat. So she just watched the stars. After a few minutes, Aaron's communicator beeped. He pressed it to his ear, his face hardening. "Go ahead," he said quietly. A crackling voice came through. "Captain, your signal's being traced. They know you took her." Lyra froze. "They know you took her?" Aaron's jaw tightened. "How long?" "Less than an hour," the voice replied. "You need to leave orbit. Now." Aaron turned off the comm, his hands moving fast across the control panel. The hum of the engines grew louder. The stars outside began to stretch as the ship prepared to jump. Lyra gripped the wall. "What's happening?" "They found us," he said quickly. "We're leaving before they get close." "Who?" she demanded. Aaron didn't answer. He only said, "Hold on." The ship lurched forward. Lights blurred into streaks and the stars vanished in a sudden flash. Lyra fell against the seat, her heart pounding. When the ship finally steadied, she looked at him again, angry, confused, scared. "You said I was free. But now they're chasing you because of me." Aaron met her eyes. "You are free, but freedom comes with a cost," she didn't understand. "What do they want from me?" He hesitated. His hand tightened around the edge of the console. "You're not just a survivor, Lyra," he said quietly. "You're something more. They did things to you, and things even you don't remember." Her stomach twisted. "You're lying." "I wish I was," Lyra's voice trembled. "Then what am I?" Aaron looked at her with a mix of guilt and sadness. "You're proof that they broke their own laws. You were part of an experiment, something they wanted to hide. You escaped before they could finish." Lyra's breath caught. Her hands shook as she touched her head, trying to remember. She saw flashes, cold rooms, metal tables, bright lights, and voices whispering numbers. She remembered pain, screaming, and then nothing. Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't ask for this," she said weakly. "I know," Aaron said. "That's why I'm helping you." "They can't get you back." She looked at him. The man who had saved her, the man who had also called her a target. Was he really her savior? Or just another one using her for something else? The ship's lights dimmed as the engines cooled. The stars outside shimmered again, endless and cold. Lyra turned away, staring at the darkness. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she whispered. Aaron looked at her for a long time. Then he said softly, "Then let's find out. Together." The secret mission, the hum of the ship echoed like a slow heartbeat. Lyra sat alone in the small cabin, staring at the silver prosthetic that now replaced her lost leg. The light from the window washed over her pale skin, making her look half human, half ghost. Captain Aaron hadn't spoken much since the jump. He stayed in the control room, sending messages she couldn't hear. The silence between them felt heavy, full of questions she was afraid to ask. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She stood and walked toward the bridge, her new leg clicking softly against the metal floor. Aaron was there, leaning over the control board. Maps of star systems glowed on the screen. His brow was tight with focus. Lyra hesitated. "You said we were safe," she said quietly. "But you look like a man running from something." Aaron turned, surprised she had come. "We are safe, and for now. Why are they chasing us?" she asked. "Why me?" He looked at her for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether to tell the truth. Then he sighed. "You were part of something they called Project Seraph," he said. "A secret experiment to create a living link between machines and minds." Lyra frowned. "I don't understand." "You were born normal," Aaron continued. "But after the war, your people began building soldiers, hybrids, half biological, half synthetic. You were their first success. And their last." Her breath caught. "That can't be true." "I'm not a weapon." Aaron's voice softened. "No, you're more than that. You're proof that they failed to control what they created. You feel, you think, you love. That scared them." Lyra shook her head. Her memories came in broken flashes. White rooms, needles, voices calling her Subject 9. She remembered running, the pain, the explosion that took her leg. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" she whispered. "Because you weren't ready," Aaron said. "And because knowing the truth makes you a target." Lyra turned away, her hands trembling. "So you didn't save me out of kindness," she said bitterly. "You saved me because I'm useful." Aaron took a step forward. "No, I saved you because you deserved a chance to live. Not as an experiment, but as yourself." His words cut through the air like light through fog. For a moment, neither spoke. Only the quiet hum of the ship filled the space between them. Then the alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed. The ship shook violently. Aaron rushed to the console. "They found us." Lyra grabbed the seat to steady herself. "Who?" "The Syndicate," Aaron said. "The same ones who built Project Seraph. They want you back. I'm alive." Lyra's heart raced. "What do we do?" "Fight or run," he said grimly. "And we're out of places to run." Outside, the stars shifted as dark shapes emerged from the shadows. 3 ships, their engines glowing red like angry eyes. Aaron's hands moved fast over the controls. "Hold on!" he shouted. The ship spun hard, dodging a burst of plasma fire. The blasts lit up the cabin like lightning. Lyra fell, catching herself on the wall. Aaron fired back, and one of the enemy ships exploded in a burst of blue light. But 2 more closed in fast. "Can you fly?" Aaron asked suddenly. "What?" He threw her a headset. "Your neural link, the prosthetic. It's not just a leg. It can connect to the ship's systems. You can feel the ship." Lyra hesitated, fear and confusion twisting inside her. "I've never..." "And then learn now." he said. She put on the headset. Instantly, a flood of energy rushed through her. Light, sound, data. She could sense every vibration, every current of power in the engines. It was overwhelming, but also familiar. Like she had done it before. She focused, reaching out with her mind. The ship responded. The metal walls hummed beneath her touch. She could feel the enemy behind them, their weapons charging. "Left side, now," she shouted. Aaron turned the ship sharply, avoiding another shot. "Good, keep going." Lyra closed her eyes. She saw the battle not with her eyes but with her thoughts, like a map drawn in light. She guided the engines, shifted power, redirected shields. Aaron fired again. The second enemy ship cracked apart, spinning into the void. The last one tried to retreat, but Lyra locked onto its coordinates. "I can end this," she said, her voice steady now. "Do it," Aaron said. She reached out through the link, feeling the enemy's systems like threads in her mind. With one thought, she pulled, and the ship's power core went dark. A silent explosion bloomed in the distance. The battlefield went quiet. Lyra opened her eyes, gasping. The connection faded. She stumbled, and Aaron caught her before she fell. "You did it," he said softly. She looked at him, her voice shaking. "I didn't even know I could." Aaron smiled faintly. That's what they were afraid of. Lyra stared out the window at the fading light of the battle. Her hands were trembling, not from fear, but from something new. Power. She turned to Aaron. "What happens now?" "We go where they can't follow," he said. "And we make sure no one ever builds another project like you again." Lyra nodded slowly. "And if they come?" Aaron's eyes hardened. "Then they'll learn what humans do when someone they care about is threatened." Lyra looked at him, really looked, and felt a warmth she didn't understand. Somewhere deep inside, the broken parts of her began to fit together again. Outside, the stars glowed quietly as if watching two small souls defy an entire galaxy. And far away, in the dark corners of space, the Syndicate whispered her name like a curse. "Find the girl." The chase. The stars outside looked calm again, but inside the ship there was no peace. Every light flickered as the engines cooled down from the last jump. Smoke rose from the control panels and the air smelled of metal and burnt wires. Aaron moved quickly, checking the systems one by one. His hands were steady, but his jaw was tight with worry. Lyra sat near the window, her new leg sparking slightly from the strain of the battle. She pressed her hand over the damaged part, wincing. "Don't move too much," Aaron said without looking up. "You overloaded your circuits during the fight." Lyra frowned. "I thought I was helping." He turned toward her, his face softening. "You did help. You saved us, but you're not a weapon, Lyra. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others alive." His words caught her off guard. No one had ever spoken to her like that. Not with care, not with respect. She looked away, whispering, "Then why does it feel like that's all I'm good for?" Aaron didn't answer. He returned to the console, but his silence said enough. He understood. A soft alarm beeped. The ship's sensors blinked red. Lyra's head snapped up. "What is that?" Aaron's expression darkened. "A tracker. They're following our jump trail." She stood, her metal leg clicking on the floor. "Already? I thought we destroyed them." "We did," Aaron said grimly. "But the Syndicate has more. They always have more." He tapped the screen. Dozens of red dots appeared, closing in fast. Lyra felt her chest tighten. "How many?" "Too many," he said. "We won't make it in a straight fight." The ship shook as distant blasts echoed through space. They were still far, but getting closer. Aaron took a deep breath. "We have one chance in the storm belt." Lyra frowned. "Storm belt?" "A field of plasma clouds and magnetic storms," Aaron explained. "Ships avoid it because sensors don't work inside. It's chaos in there. But it's our only way to disappear." She hesitated. "And if the storms tear us apart?" Aaron smiled faintly. "Then we go down fighting." He pushed the throttle forward. The ship roared, engines screaming as they dove into the storm belt. Lightning danced across the hull, blue and violent. Energy waves slammed into them, shaking every bolt loose. Lyra gripped the railing, her heart pounding. Sparks flew. The lights flickered. The noise was deafening. Aaron shouted over the chaos, "Divert power to shields." Lyra closed her eyes, reaching through her prosthetic. She could feel the storm of wild energy, living chaos. It was like touching the heart of a star. She guided the ship through the electric winds, her body trembling as she absorbed part of the charge. Her circuits burned, but she didn't stop. Then, through the flashing lights, she saw something. Shapes moving inside the storm. "Aaron," she cried. "They're still following," Aaron cursed under his breath. "They're using signal dampers. They can see us, but we can't see them." Lyra bit her lip. "Then I'll find them another way." Before he could stop her, she pulled off her headset and pressed her hand against the ship's wall. Her prosthetic began to glow. The circuits along her arm lit up with soft blue light. She connected her mind to the ship again, deeper this time. The storm's sound vanished, replaced by a sea of whispers and motion. She saw the syndicate ships like dark shadows against light. "There," she said. "Two above us, one behind." Aaron moved fast, firing upward. One shadow vanished in a burst of fire. The others split apart, circling. Lyra focused harder. Her nose began to bleed, but she didn't care. "Left side now." Aaron turned sharply, avoiding a plasma bolt that would have cut the ship in half. "Good call," he shouted. She didn't reply. Her voice came out soft, strained. "I can then see them all. Like they're part of me." Aaron's heart clenched. "Disconnect, Lyra. It's too much." But she didn't. Her eyes glowed faintly, silver and blue. "I can stop them, Lyra." Her mind reached farther, through the storm, through the energy fields, until she touched the enemy's systems. She felt their engines, their weapons, their fear. Then she pushed. A shockwave of light exploded across the storm. One by one, the syndicate ships lost power and vanished into the chaos. The silence that followed was almost painful. Lyra collapsed, her prosthetic sparking. Aaron caught her before she hit the floor. "Lyra!" "Stay with me," he said, shaking her gently. Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. "Did we make it?" Aaron looked at the screen. No more red dots. Only the swirling storm around them. "Yeah," he whispered. "You did it," she smiled faintly. "I told you I could help." He laughed softly, relief washing over his face. "You did more than help. You saved us again." As he carried her to the cabin, the storm outside began to calm. The clouds opened just enough to reveal a quiet stretch of stars. Aaron laid her down gently and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Rest. You've done enough for one lifetime." Before sleep took her, Lyra whispered, "You didn't leave me behind." "Thank you." Aaron watched her for a long time, his chest heavy with thoughts he couldn't voice. "She's not just a mission," he murmured to himself. "She's a miracle." Outside, the storm faded, leaving their ship drifting in a silent sea of stars, alone, but alive. And somewhere deep in that calm, a new signal began to rise. A dark pulse from the syndicate, echoing across the void. They hadn't given up. They never would. The sacrifice. The silence after the storm felt strange. Too quiet, too calm, like the universe was holding its breath. The ship drifted slowly through the dark, its engines flickering weakly. Most systems were broken, wires hung loose, and the floor still shook with every pulse of the dying reactor. Lyra lay on the medical bed, pale and still. Her new leg was dark now, its lights gone cold. The battle had drained her more than she realized. Aaron sat beside her, head down, eyes heavy from exhaustion. He hadn't slept in 2 days. He just stayed there, watching her breathe, afraid that if he blinked, she might vanish. When her eyes finally opened, she whispered, "Are we safe?" Aaron gave a tired smile. "For now. You burned out half the system saving us." She looked at her leg and frowned. "It doesn't move anymore." "I can fix it," he said quickly. "I just need time." Lyra studied him. He looked older now, tired but still strong. There was something in his eyes that wasn't just duty. Something warmer. Something human. "Why do you keep helping me?" she asked softly. Aaron leaned back in his chair. "Because you keep helping me," Lyra smiled weakly. "That's not an answer," he sighed. "Maybe not. But it's the truth." For a while they sat in silence. Outside, a dying star burned dimly, throwing soft orange light into the cabin. It made Lyra's silver skin glow like molten glass, but the peace didn't last. The ship's alarm broke the silence, a sharp, piercing sound. Aaron jumped to his feet and ran to the control panel. Lyra pushed herself up, her heart pounding. "What is it now?" Aaron's face went pale. "They've found us again." He switched the screen on and the radar filled with red signals, hundreds this time. Bigger ships, faster ones. The syndicate wasn't chasing anymore. They were hunting. How? Lyra gasped. They must have tracked your signal, Aaron said. Your prosthetic still sends energy bursts. They can trace it. Lyra looked down at her leg. So it's me. Aaron turned quickly. No, don't think that, but she already knew. They'll never stop, will they? He didn't answer. The comms beeped. A voice filled the cabin, cold, mechanical, filled with venom. Captain Aaron, returned the experiment, and we might let you live. Aaron's jaw tightened. You can tell your masters they'll have to come and take her. The voice laughed. Then prepare to die for your little pet. The signal cut. Lyra's breath shook. They'll kill you for me, she said. Aaron turned to her. Then I'll die doing something good for once. She stood, though her leg sparked with pain. No, Aaron, I won't let you die because of me. Before he could stop her, she limped toward the airlock. Lyra! What are you doing? He shouted. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. They want me, not you. If I surrender, maybe they'll stop. Aaron grabbed her arm. You think they'll stop? They'll tear you apart to find what makes you special. I won't let that happen. Lyra met his eyes. You said freedom has a cost. Maybe this is mine, he shook his head. No, you've already paid enough, she smiled sadly. So have you. And before he could react, she pressed the emergency override on the airlock door. The alarm screamed. The inner door sealed, trapping Aaron on the other side. Lyra, no, he shouted, slamming his fists against the glass. She looked at him through the small window, tears glimmering in her silver eyes. You gave me a life when I thought I had none. Don't let it be for nothing. Don't do this. He yelled, I can save you. Her lips curved into a faint smile. You already did. With that, she pressed the outer release. The door opened and the rush of air pulled her out into the cold, endless dark. The stars swallowed her. Aaron fell to his knees, his hands shaking. No, he whispered. The ship's comms crackled again. Target acquired, said the cold syndicate voice. Retrieve her body. Aaron's sorrow turned to fury. His hands clenched and his eyes burned with anger. Not today, he growled. He activated the ship's last weapon, the fusion cannon hidden beneath the hull. The system protested, overloaded, but he didn't care. He locked onto the syndicate flagship. For her, he whispered. The blast erupted in blinding light. The enemy ships shattered one by one, their signals fading into static. The explosion shook the stars themselves, then everything went dark. Hours later, in the wreckage of space, a faint signal blinked on Aaron's screen. Weak, but alive. He stared at it, hope rising in his chest. The coordinates matched one thing, her prosthetic leg. He smiled through tears. Lyra, you stubborn miracle. He turned the ship and followed the signal into the black. Redemption and love darkness. Silence. Cold stars stretching forever. For a long time, that was all there was. Then, a faint flicker of light. Somewhere among the debris of the storm belt, something moved. A small signal pulsed once, twice. Then again, it was her. Lyra drifted inside the wreck of an old escape pod, her body still, her skin pale like moonlight. The prosthetic leg that had once burned with energy now flickered weakly. Every breath hurt, every heartbeat slower than the last. She didn't know how long she'd been floating. Minutes? Hours? Days? Time didn't exist here. Only memories. She remembered Aaron's face pressed against the glass. His voice shouting her name. The way he said, "You're not a weapon." The way he made her feel human. She smiled faintly. "I hope you made it," she whispered into the dark. Then the silence broke. A distant sound. The low hum of engines cutting through the void. Lyra forced her eyes open. A ship was approaching. Not Syndicate, different, familiar. The human ship, Aaron. Her heart stuttered in disbelief. No, it can't be. The light grew brighter as the ship drew near. The hatch opened and strong arms pulled her inside. She blinked against the glow, trying to see. Then she heard it in that same rough, warm voice. "Still running off without me, huh?" Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Aaron." He smiled, tired and broken but alive. "You didn't think I'd let you go that easily, did you?" He carried her to the cabin, wrapping her in a blanket. Her body trembled with cold, but her eyes never left his. "I thought you died," she whispered. Aaron laughed softly. "I almost did. Blew half the ship apart taking those monsters down. But you left me a signal." She frowned weakly. "The prosthetic?" He nodded. "It never stopped sending. It's what saved you. Lyra let out a small laugh, tears glimmering. Guess being part machine isn't so bad after all. Aaron smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. You risked your life for me. I had to, she said. You showed me what being alive means. I couldn't let them take that from you. He touched her cheek gently, his voice quiet. You're more human than anyone I've ever met. She closed her eyes, leaning into his hand. Then I learned from the best. Outside the window, the stars began to shift as the ship turned away from the battlefield. Behind them, the wreckage of the Syndicate fleet drifted like ghosts, silent reminders of everything they had survived. Lyra stared at the endless sky. What happens now? Aaron looked at the stars, his expression soft. We find a world that doesn't know our names. Somewhere quiet, somewhere free. Free, she repeated, the word strange and beautiful on her tongue. For a long time, they just sat together, watching the stars move. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. Lyra turned her head slightly. You could have left me there. Why didn't you? Aaron smiled faintly. Because humans don't leave people behind. She smiled too, her voice a whisper. Even broken ones. Especially broken ones, he said. She reached out and took his hand. His fingers were rough, warm, alive. For the first time since the war, she felt safe. The ship hummed softly as it slipped into light speed. The stars stretched into bright lines, then vanished into a calm sea of blue. Lyra looked down at her prosthetic leg, its faint blue light returning. It pulsed softly, steady like a heartbeat. Aaron glanced at it and smiled. Looks like it's healing, she nodded. Maybe we both are. Outside, the universe unfolded in quiet beauty. New worlds waited unseen. New stories yet to be written. Aaron stood, setting a course into uncharted space. Where to, partner? Lyra grinned, her voice stronger now. Anywhere the stars still shine. He laughed. A real laugh, the kind he hadn't had in years. That's everywhere, Lyra. And together, they disappeared into the light. Two souls who had defied war, cruelty, and fate itself. In the cold universe where machines ruled and mercy was rare, a human's compassion had changed everything. Because sometimes, the most alien thing in the galaxy is love.